DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Thursday, a beautiful day in Nashville, Tennessee. We had a lot of fun on yesterday's program. We basically took the entire show debating our list of the top 5 current Nashville sports stars. And we did come to a consensus right at the buzzer. 1 through 5. Jeffery, Simmons, Michaela Blakes, Tyler Tanner, Philip Forsberg, and Roman Josi. So if you did not hear that discussion yesterday, go back and listen to yesterday's show after you listen to today's show, and you can yell at us in the text line if you disagree, 615-737-1025. But before we begin today's program, we do need an update on Willy's hat. Willy, have you found the hat?
No.
Willy has not found the Dennison hat.
It's
gone.
At this point, it's just like anything missing. The longer it's missing, the less chance it's gonna turn up. The last piece of I'd just like to say a few words about my red Dennison hat.
Let's eulogize the hat.
It'll always be remembered as the hat I was wearing for the Big Red national title of 2026. It was tossed in the air. It was sweat in a lot. It was nervous sweat, heat sweat. It blended in well with the Big Red crowd. And yes, I will always. I can get another hat that has the same design, but it'll never replace the one that I was wearing.
Never replace
on that championship day. So
never
long,
replace.
Wherever it is in a ditch,
never replace.
Grinded to a pulp by an 18-wheel truck.
Never replace.
We'll always remember.
Never replace.
June 3rd, 2026.
Never,
and that championship day.
Never.
It's gone to the big hat farm in the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Crossing the Rainbow Bridge.
It was a good hat.
But we did for a quick second. I thought I had a spotting coming up to work today.
It was painful because I had given up hope, but then I saw a young man on a bike on Murfreesboro Road had a bright red hat on. And as I got closer, I was like, and it was like an Alabama. It had an A on it.
You should have yelled at him from a distance.
Hey! Turn around, sir. Can I see your hat?
Would you have quickly turned the car and just gunned it for this
Oh,
guy?
yeah. It would have been a bat turn. It would have been like Bruce Wayne, Batman, flipping around 180. But all we need now to just seal the deal is the footage. I think what the crowd, the people deserve is the closure of me riding off with presumably the DMase theory of me leaving it on the top of my car, leaving the 1025 the game parking lot.
We need that footage and the footage of Rex Road being robbed while pumping his gas.
I have seen that.
We know that's
you've
out
seen
there.
it?
Oh,
I have
that's
seen
been
it.
out there. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Ask
either.
Ian. He has it.
Okay.
No, I don't think I may have seen it on the news. Was it on the news?
Why would it be on the news?
I don't know.
Because it's Rex Road.
Ian showed me their group chat, and it was the video, and it's fascinating.
Is it as wonderful as I think it is?
It is exactly what you think it is.
I will say, since that episode with Rex Road, anytime I pump gas, I make sure to take my keys out of the car and lock the car.
Oh,
I do
have
too.
So
Yeah.
I've done that every single time.
He's done society a favor.
He has done all of us a public service. Rex Road's on vacation right now.
You
but
know, I
Joe,
thought
I salute you.
I thought it was Rex Road because they were doing a segment on the news about that right around the time Rex Road was going through it. So I thought I saw it on the news, but I guess I didn't.
Can I tell you about the time I was B-roll on the news?
Go ahead.
When I was in college, at one point, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they voted American University as the most vegan-friendly campus in the country because of our selection in the dining hall. So one of the local news outlets came to campus to do a report on it. And I happened to be in the food hall. I had just come from the gym. I was sweating profusely, My face was red. My clothes were soaked in sweat and ratty. I'm eating, by the way, I wasn't eating something vegan, by the way. I was eating like eggs. And unbeknownst to me, the camera crew was in the food hall, in the dining hall, and shot me as B-roll. So I have the local news on in my dorm room, and they're talking about this. And as they're transitioning to the next interview, there's my sweaty ass, not literally my ass, but my sweaty ass just eating eggs. I'm like, this is very unflattering to me.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you don't think you were prepared? You didn't look camera ready?
No, I was absolutely not camera ready. But
That's a shame.
that was my close-up. That was my close-up.
The one and only moment.
Yes. Viking Matt says, y'all are still drunk on your top 5 from yesterday. Put the bottle down. And sorry, Willie, for your loss. Josh says, Rexroad's done y'all a favor, even though PK always says to lock your locks every day. I guess it takes one of us learning the hard way before we actually listen, though. And that is true. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way. And Rexroad learned the hard way. So we start today's program on perhaps a slap in the face. It's the middle of July. And what do we do to buy time, or to bide our time, I should say? In the middle of July, NFL training camps don't start for a couple of weeks. Lists. We love lists. We did a list yesterday. July is prime list season for sports talk radio. And Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com every year consults with league executives, coaches, and scouts to rank the top 10 players at 11 different positions in the NFL. And lo and behold, today, he unveiled the list of the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL for 2026. And I think we all assumed that Jeffery Simmons would be number 1 on this list. He just had an outstanding season for the Tennessee Titans. He just signed a market resetting contract. He's the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. So I thought it was only a matter of time before Jeffery Simmons vaulted to number 1 on this list. Nope. Jeffery Simmons comes in at number 2 on this list, moving up from 4 to 2. The one player ahead of him, Leonard Williams, who shot up from 6 last year to 1 this year. Leonard Williams, a member of the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks. I almost said the Seattle Supersonics.
Good catch with that.
They could be back, right?
Yes.
Could be someday.
Seattle's going to get an NBA team again at some point. But Leonard Williams shoots up from 6 to 1 and is the only defensive tackle ranked higher than Jeffery Simmons, according to these league people that Jeremy Fowler consulted for this list. After Jeffery Simmons was also, by the way, listed at number 83 in the NFL Top 100 by his peers. Derek Mason. Should Jeffery Simmons feel disrespected by not being the number 1 defensive tackle in the league on this list?
On this particular list, I mean, I guess as a competitor, you always want to be the best. You know, you measure yourself up to those that are considered the best at your position. And if you're talking about, you know, what I've seen now, I haven't seen much of Leonard Williams in Seattle, other than outside of the Super Bowl, maybe a couple of games. But I've seen every game of Jeffery Simmons, and I know what he brings to the table. I can't tell him he shouldn't feel disrespected, because that's a chip for him. Now, I would love to play with Jeff and somebody disregards him as being the best defensive tackle out there. I would love that, because you know why? I'm going to get that angry Jeff coming into cap, that Jeff that still has a chip on his shoulder, and he just got a huge contract. So he, in public, I don't think he's going to say anything, but behind the scenes, this is just something else. What we talk about, bulletin board material. He gets to put bulletin board material up in his house. All those GMs, after the season that I had and how dominant I was, you still didn't think I was the number 1 defensive tackle in the league? I'm going to prove to you, yes, I am.
I'm just imagining, remember, I don't know if people actually did this. I know it was a thing in movies and TV shows where you put a picture of your crush in your locker. Do you think Jeffrey Simmons is just going to have a photo of Leonard Williams in his locker at the Titans facility?
Well,
but what's interesting about this, Willie, as Jeremy Fowler notes, Leonard Williams had never previously cracked the top 5 since this project's inception in 2020. It does feel like Leonard Williams he was the best defensive player on the best team tax or bump or whatever you want to call it.
Bingo.
There it is.
But 5 spots? That's worth 5 spots?
Well, the GMs voted for this?
Yes.
Executives, coaches, and scouts.
Okay, so I just don't think in those daily lives of those people that they're really delving into. They probably spent a couple minutes off the top of their head, and I guarantee you for a number of them, maybe some of them did want to do it right and really take some extra time and put effort into it. I'll bet you there was a cross section that just did that. Leonard Williams was great. Seattle won it. He's their best defensive lineman. Yeah. And you're just not, to the victor goes the spoils. You can never go wrong as a voter voting for a guy that won a Super Bowl. And on the flip side, to Derek's point, I was thinking the same exact thing. And I thought of Michael Jordan and all of the stories throughout his career, but they were really chronicled well in the Last Dance, where there was the one story that was told where somebody disrespected him. And I can't remember the name of the player, but Michael Jordan heard about it. And, you know, he put the chip on his shoulder. He did it, and he just terrorized the guy the next time he played him. And then you find out after it's over that whatever the guy did to disrespect Michael Jordan, it never happened. It never actually happened, but he thought it happened. And so in his mind, it happened, and that gave him the drive. So whatever motivates you to put the chip on your shoulder to get the best effort, that's what people do to motivate themselves.
And I wonder if some of it was because, again, if you're talking to execs and scouts, and I know that every scout, pro scout anyway, they've scouted these players, whether they scouted them last year for the year they played them because they only play them once every so many years, or they have to scout him because he's one of the upcoming players that they got to face that is dominant. I wonder how many of those it's like a bias in a sense. One, yeah, the Super Bowl, but two, well, I really had to scout this person and scout the team. I didn't have to. We didn't play the Tennessee Titans, but then I could say that on the other hand because there are, Seattle didn't play every team, but I wonder if some of that factors in.
I heard friend of the show, Easton Freeze. We had Easton on the program yesterday. I heard him say this morning, ask these same people, who do you want on your team right now? Leonard Williams or Jeffrey Simmons? How many people would say Simmons? Simmons is 4 years younger than Leonard Williams. I can pull up the stats. I don't have them in front of me. I have to imagine they're at least comparable. But the interesting thing here, too, and one texter brings up, Gunner says, I wonder how many people voted Jeff won. Imagine Jeff talking smack and running down the GM, and the GM running away screaming, I voted for you one, Jeff, I swear. So it doesn't have, like, the voting breakdown. He did receive first-place votes. Jeremy Fowler said, quote, he nearly earned the number 1 spot, but fell just short in the voting. Somebody in this poll voted him 8th.
Wow.
8th.
Wow.
See, that doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense to me at all.
I'd almost think it's a better defense to just forget to put him on there than to put him 8th. Like he's like,
man, I forgot.
And I'll put Jeffrey Simmons 8th. That's different than, oh my God, I forgot about Jeffrey Simmons. I think that's the second one's a better excuse.
I mean, you can pivot to that one. Yeah.
The other thing too, and Derek, I think you can help me understand this. I find it fascinating how league executives, coaches, and scouts differ from players. As I said, Jeffrey Simmons landed at number 83 on the NFL Top 100 Players list. Players, allegedly, vote on this list. So it's like, Willie, from a hockey perspective, there are 2 MVP awards. There's the Hart Trophy, the actual MVP award voted on by the Professional Hockey Writers Association. And then there's the Ted Lindsay Award, which is the most outstanding player as voted on by the NHL Players Association, or the players. And sometimes the MVP and the Ted Lindsay Award recipient, they're not the same, but usually it's one of the Hart Trophy finalists. So even if one year Connor McDavid, it's like, for example, Connor McDavid won the Ted Lindsay Award this year. He was voted on by the players as the most outstanding player. Nikita Kucherov won the MVP award, but Connor McDavid was a finalist for the MVP award. So there's some similarities. To me, it's interesting that players and league personnel people have seems like a wide gap in their perception on how they evaluate each other.
There's different perspectives, and it's a pretty wide open criteria when you're not told, hey, you have to go by these numbers or this set of circumstances, this real specific set. Mm-hmm. It's not unlike yesterday's process that we went through, which was a good exercise. We didn't all agree at the beginning, but we came to we voted, and the list is final when it's final. And we all had little different ways that we attacked who we thought the biggest sports stars in Nashville are. I think it was, to take the hockey example, it was really hard to choose who the MVP was of the year last year in hockey. Even if you don't follow hockey, I think you can relate. There's some years that are harder than others to determine awards like that. So it's not an easy process. It's not clear cut. But I think Jeffrey Simmons is higher than 8th and higher than 83rd in the overall roster.
I think a part of it is when you're talking about players as opposed to execs or coaches, the players are the people that are out there physically. So they understand. Like, that's why it's always said, listen, if a team is backing a player like a backup and they're wondering what's going on, they understand, like, this dude can play. Like, y'all, I don't know what y'all doing inside the meeting rooms, but this dude can play. That's why there's so much validation in what players think about one another if they really sat down and thought about it. But I just think coaches and execs, they look at it totally different from players. Not to say that, their, evaluation doesn't matter, because it does. But ultimately, it's, how do you feel about the person you're playing across from?
That's a really interesting thing. From a player, it might be more of just that feeling, mm-hmm. right? Who do you not want to play against?
Exactly.
But if you're really doing it right, and Adam, I don't know what it's like when you vote, because as the broadcasters that do one of the most subjective ones, the coach of the year, where you don't have any stats, you just have how the guy's team did. It's really hard. But I like when you have a list, you make a list and say, here are the candidates. Here are the numbers. Now make your choice, as opposed to standing at your locker and Adam Vingan, reporter, is saying, hey, who do you think is the best whatever? And you're like, okay, who are we thinking? McDavid is one. Jeffrey Simmons is one. I'm going to go with Jeffrey Simmons. Like, there's no research put into it.
615-737-1025. Jeffrey Simmons comes in at number 2 on ESPN's ranking of the top defensive tackles for 2026. Jeremy Fowler consulting with league executives, coaches, and scouts, and those personnel people voted Jeffrey Simmons as the second best defensive tackle in the NFL, behind Seattle's Leonard Williams. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on that. Plus, I'm wondering if another Titans player is also being disrespected. We'll discuss that coming up next as well. 615-737-1025 today. The Nashville Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights. First pitch is at 6:04 p.m. Note the 4. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina.
All right, underway, the quarterfinal, France and Morocco, about 19 minutes in, 0-0 at this moment. And you guys might be running home just because you're a soccer nut and you want to watch that game, or something else is going on that's keeping you busy and you haven't been able to plan ahead for some of the things you want to get done. That's where Twice Daily and the rewards program can really help you, because A, they've always got you covered with what you need. If you need to grab something quick like pizza for dinner tonight, you can get it delivered to your house if you'd like. But also, when you go there repeatedly, you're going to gain the twice daily rewards if you're a member of their twice daily rewards program. You get special discounts. You can enter into sweepstakes to win more stuff. You get savings, all that stuff. You're going to earn points and save money every time you visit Twice Daily. So Twice Daily, bottom line, has you covered. It's Twice Daily. New sponsor on our show. Fresh all day.
DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025. The game, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. I'm in charge of music today. The theme, songs by ex-Disney Channel stars. So starting off with Demi Lovato.
Okay.
I made a controversial choice. Connor Newt was very upset with me.
Very. Still am.
I could change it before the end of the show.
What did she play on?
Demi Lovato?
What show?
She's on Camp Rock.
She was on Camp Rock.
Okay.
And Camp Rock 2, the beat goes on.
I watched Disney movies, but not that one.
No,
beat goes
you
on.
would have aged out of Disney Channel.
This was like early 2010s.
Yeah,
this was my
yeah.
era.
Oh yeah.
maybe your kids watched it.
Yeah, they probably did, but I didn't.
It was a tough choice. There are a lot of I was going to say accomplished ex Disney Channel stars. I mean, not all of the songs are good, but I chose some of my favorites. So that's the theme of today's program. 615-737-1025. We started today's program by talking about Jeremy Fowler's list at ESPN.com, consulting with league executives, coaches, and scouts to help rank the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL. Jeffery Simmons came in at number 2 behind Seattle's Leonard Williams, who had never previously cracked the top 5 since this project's inception in 2020. But as we said in the previous segment, Leonard Williams, the best defensive player on the Super Bowl champion winning team. So I kind of understand why Leonard Williams shot up from 6 to 1 By the way, if you're curious of the top 5, Leonard Williams in Seattle, number 1, Jeffrey Simmons, number 2, Jalen Carter in Philadelphia, number 3, Chris Jones in Kansas City, number 4, Derek Brown in Carolina, number 5. Chris on our text line says, that's a middle finger to Jeffrey Simmons. One texter says, Jeffrey Simmons is too busy counting his money to worry about where he is on some random summer list.
Fair.
Well, that is
know
that is true.
Players worry about it, believe me.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. Players worry. they look at it.
What do you think?
And it's from executives and coaches.
Which one do you think bothers Jeffrey Simmons more? Assuming it is bothering Jeffrey Simmons. The list from Jeremy Fowler, league executives, coaches, and scouts, or the NFL top 100, the players? Which one do you think bothers him more?
Both. I think seriously both.
I would say the players.
most.
I would say, because you know how athletes are, Derek. I know you probably thought this way when you were playing. Like, what do these people know? They're not playing, although league executives, coaches, and scouts could have played at some point. It's not like I'm voting on this list or making this list or anything like that. I'm going to say it will bother him more, the NFL top 100, because those are his peers putting him at number 83.
I understand that, and that's why I said I think it would
Assuming
be,
it bothers him,
yeah.
which Derek thinks it is.
Oh, I think it bothers him in a way that's not going to be a hamper to a season. Every guy goes into the offseason. How do I reinvent myself? How do I work on my weaknesses and enhance my strengths? And what is that motivation? Because you play this game because there's a why. Why do you play this game? You ask any athlete and they should be able to give you an answer. Why do you play this game? And after you made the money, why do you continue to play this game? And Jeff takes that as, this is why I play this game, because y'all on both sides, neither one of y'all think I'm the best. So I'm going to keep on playing and show and prove y'all I am the best. That's why it says equally. But it's not like he's going to put names to it.
There is another player that could be disrespected, who might be being disrespected, whatever you want to say. Tony Pollard. And I saw Austin Stanley of A to Z Sports right at that website. This story, headline quote, it's official. Tony Pollard doesn't exist in the NFL universe, and the math doesn't add up for the Titans running back. Tony Pollard isn't getting slept on. He's not getting disrespected. The Tennessee Titans running back is getting flat out ignored like he doesn't exist, because Tony Pollard, the running back version of this list from Jeremy Fowler, Tony Pollard was not in the top 10. He was not in the honorable mentions category. He wasn't even in the also receiving votes category. And Austin's point was Tony Pollard has rushed for at least 1,000 yards in 4 consecutive seasons. The only other running back with a streak that long is Derrick Henry. So do we agree with what Austin is saying here? Do we feel like Tony Pollard isn't just being disrespected? He's being flat out ignored. Does Austin have a point here, or do you think perhaps we're getting a little agitated for the sake of being agitated?
I think he's got a point. By definition, he was ignored, to not be mentioned in the article. Now, I would say that rushing for 1,000 yards in a 17-game season is not really in and of itself noteworthy. He made some good points in the article, Austin did, because when you're playing for such a bad offense and you're behind a lot, you're not likely to rack up a lot of yards, right? You're not, because you have to pass. You're behind. So in the context, he is what I think we all have defined him as, at least here in this market. He's a respected veteran who is a solid pro, who is not going to be a game breaker, but he's going to do the job for you. And if they had reflected that in the article, I think everybody would have been fine. But to not even mention him, that is a slap in the face.
I think he just suffers from a guy that's consistent. He is consistent in what he does. You know exactly what type of player he is. You know exactly right about the yardage he's going to have for the season and what he's going to average and how many touchdowns. Some offenses or on some teams that are loaded everywhere else, you can live with that. And you make it far in the playoffs and you win a Super Bowl. And now everybody thinks, you know, his numbers could be, better somewhere else, but because how they use him in his offense, he's doing exactly what they want him to do. And he can do it for 10 years, and he will be labeled great. But a guy like Pollard, he does it, but he does it on a team that isn't winning. That's first and foremost. And then he's not going to wow you. He doesn't give you those wow plays. He's not considered a home run hitter. Even though Derrick Henry was big, he was considered a home run hitter. That's why he was so great and continue to be great. Pollard has never been that guy. Maybe one season in Dallas where he averaged 5 yards per carry, but he was splitting time, I think, with Ezekiel Elliott at the time. But even then, he still wasn't thought as a premier back. They think of him more so as a tandem back, not a premier back. And I think that's why he's left off a lot of lists. The team's not winning. He's not flashy, and he's not scoring touchdowns.
Pro Football Focus recently put out a list of the starting running backs for every team ahead of the 2026 season. Where do you think Tony Pollard landed on that list, 1 through 32?
20. No, that's too low. 15.
I'm going to say 22.
Willy is close. 21. He landed 21st out of 32 projected starting running backs in the NFL. So I read Austin Stanley's article at A2ZSports.com. I thought it was a well-written article. I have a hard time getting angry about Tony Pollard not being on Jeremy Fowler's list of the top 10 running backs. Not even in the top 10, not honorable mention, not even in the also receiving vote. So it wasn't as if one person polled said, you know what, throw Tony Pollard a vote. Nobody even mentioned Tony Pollard in this exercise. But I think you're right, Derek. Tony Pollard, you know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. What's the clip we play for the promo for Tehran? He's the Honda Accord, right?
The new Honda Accord.
Oh, he's the new Honda. Who was the old Honda Accord?
Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yes.
There we go. Got that one.
Speaking of I will remember you, Nick Westbrook-Akine. Remember when he scored all those touchdowns that one time?
Colts legend.
And then went to Miami and
didn't do so well.
He plays for the Colts now? I would never have
There's
guessed.
A lot of former Titans with the Colts.
I would have never guessed that in a million years until he scores 2 touchdowns against the Titans this upcoming season.
Yeah, but Pollard is a solid back, and there's nothing wrong with the solid back. You know exactly he's going to be available, reliable. He's a guy that you have on the field that knows what's going on, and he's going to make sure he does everything to make the play happen. Sometimes he may get the play because of his craftiness. Sometimes he may not because he lacks the speed that some of these other backs lack. But you know exactly each and every game, if they had a better offensive line, and that could be a contributing factor to it as well. And we all know how bad this offensive line has been.
But to Austin's point,
yes,
doesn't that make Tony Pollard's performance more impressive because he's playing behind that offensive line?
It does, but again, he lacks explosive plays. And listen, everybody may not see what we see week in and week out. These execs probably don't see how bad this offensive line is week in, week out. But what they can do is, turn on the television or look on Instagram and they see all these explosive plays from running backs, and none of those plays involve Pollard at all. So I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but he's just he's one of those guys when you're talking on the television, you're doing a game, you say consummate pro. That guy's a pro. That's who you're describing, Pollard.
He doesn't have that one trait that stands out. His elusiveness, his speed, those sorts of things. He does not have that one explosive trait that's like, that when Tony Pollard's going to get the ball, this could happen or that could happen. And not every running back has that one trait. And Tony Pollard continues to chug along. But again, I have a hard time getting as worked up about Tony Pollard not being on the ESPN list
But
as
I
I do
hope it
Jeffrey Simmons
motivates him.
being number 2.
I hope it does motivate him.
Oh, I'm sure it will. 615-737-1025. They're coming up next. There's something happening. There are a couple of things interesting happening in the NHL. More than a couple of things. But one person in particular is in the crosshairs with a lot of people in the NHL. We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. The Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix is coming to the Nashville Super Speedway Saturday, July 18th and Sunday, July 19th. At 1025, the game has your chance to win tickets to the IndyCar race. Text in the keyword race, RACE, right DMase, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Who doesn't love a little Hillary Duff on a Thursday?
Oh man, why am I not remembering her character?
Lizzie McGuire.
Lizzie McGuire.
Of course.
It's a little before my kids. Her era was just before my kids started watching I think Hannah Montana was more of their wheelhouse.
There may or may not be Miley Cyrus on this playlist at some
It's
point.
got to be.
But as I was watching the rain fall down early this morning, I started thinking about this song, which inspired the theme of the playlist today. So there you go. As many of you know, when your team wins the Stanley Cup, your names get engraved on the Stanley Cup. And today,
you're being the team.
The team, yes. Players, coaches, executives, so on and so forth. Today, the Carolina Hurricanes unveiled their engravings on the Stanley Cup. And let me read to you the people listed on the first two lines under Carolina Hurricanes 2025-2026. Let me get these names right. There's Tom Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. There's Verushka Dundon, Tom's wife. Then comes Caden Dundon, Dax Dundon, Drew Dundon, Blake Dundon, and of course, who could forget Tagan? Tagan? T-A-G-A-N?
Tegan?
Tagan. T-A-G-A-N. Tagan Dundon. Tagan? Who knows? Either way, the first two rows of the Hurricanes engravings on the Stanley Cup consist of the owner, the owner's wife, and the owner's 5 children.
5 children?
One of whom I believe is 7 years old. So none of those children had any role in the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup. There have been examples of the children of the owner being on the Stanley Cup, but it's because the children had a role with the organization. Derek, we'll take it back to the dynasty era Detroit Red Wings. There were 3 rows of Ilitches on the Stanley Cup, but all of Mike Ilitch's children either co-owned or they both co-owned and worked for the organization in some capacity. So they were members of the organization, not Tom Dundon's kids. And they're on the Stanley Cup. But here's the issue that people have. You can only have a maximum of 55 names per team on the Stanley Cup. And there are other rules. For example, players must play 45 games to automatically qualify, but teams can petition to include players with fewer. So, for example, the Hurricanes traded for a player at the deadline by the name of Nicolas Deslauriers. Tough guy. Yeah. I believe Deslauriers played a grand total of 3 minutes in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And yet he made the cut because the team petitioned the Hockey Hall of Fame to put Deslauriers on the cup. But
what about a player that was on the team in the first, say, half of the year and got traded at the trade deadline or something, didn't finish the year with the team? Does anybody, I'm sure over the years, these are the discussions they have, right?
Yes.
That's sort of like the NBA.
But that person, we would all agree, would deserve to have his name on the cup before the 7-year-old kid.
Right?
Definitely.
It would be totally legitimate, a nice gesture to do that. Unless maybe you traded him to the team you beat in the playoffs or something, which probably has happened at some point.
But there's just something wrong about these 5 children being on the Stanley Cup. And maybe you can say, well, Dundon's heart was in the right place. He wants to honor his children. But because of his 5 kids, there are 5 people who actually had a role in the Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup who are not on the Stanley Cup.
I could see if after the numbers, after you got to the 52, you petition for, say, your children or whatnot to be on it. I can understand that more than taking away the spots from individuals that was there every day, doing the work that was asked, didn't complain, made sure that things were running. That's why we always talk about in the locker rooms I was in, like treat the janitor like you would treat anybody else, because they have a role in what we do around here. You know, we can't do what we're doing if they're not doing their job as well. So I can see if you put all those people in, and then you petition for your kids who they only have an attachment because you're their dad and he owns the team, you know, or your parents own the team. I just believe that, yeah, if you want them on it, put them on a payroll. Make let 7-year-old Kagan do something around, sweep, do something if you want him to be a part of it.
Dax Dundon needs to be in the uniform, you know, in the laundry room, washing the uniforms, at least.
Something. I wouldn't even go that far. Like, I don't think announcers should be on there. I don't know if they've ever have been, but I do see.
But why not announcers?
I don't think they should be on
because
there.
y'all are a part of the organization. Like when they talk about the organization, yes, the players, but they talk about you and Mace and Hal and Lindsay.
Now I say this with as much respect. I'm not saying that as I say this with as much respect to Willy Donick, who does a fabulous job calling Predators games every season. If the Predators one day win the Stanley Cup, none of it will be because of Willy Donick.
Right. I totally agree. And so that I don't see. I think. I don't know why they don't look at this closer. Maybe nobody has really taken liberties. I'd love to know how deep this goes. Mm-hmm. But the owner putting the kids on there, that's new. That's a next level. But I would say, like, I have a, you know, when you watch the journey, if you want to honor the equipment guys, you know, those behind the scenes guys, the assistant general managers, things like that, if you got room to do that, but you have to draw the line. That's some tough calls. But all of those would be way more worthy than the owner's kids. That's just, of course. What kind of scope is that from the ownership? That's now, crazy.
There is an example of the NHL pushing back. In 1984, after the Edmonton Oilers won the Stanley Cup, their owner, Peter Pocklington, had his father's name engraved on the cup, despite his father having nothing to do with the team. NHL executives forced the Hockey Hall of Fame to remove that name. So what they did was the Hockey Hall of Fame covered up the owner's father's names with X's on the Stanley Cup. It just says, X, X, X over his name. They engraved X's all over his name.
Because he had nothing to do with it.
Right. So these kids should also have their names X'd out.
No, I'm not talking. You're right about the kids. They shouldn't be on it. But I'm going back to the announcers. That's like saying if the Titans had won the Super Bowl in 1999 or 2000, that Mike Keith didn't deserve a Super Bowl ring as well. He would have. And if he was still here and the Titans were in the process of winning the Super Bowl, he deserves it. Why? Not because, you know, he's out on the field, not because, you know, he's giving game plans, but he's bringing the game to the fans.
The difference, though, is a Super Bowl ring is a personal momentum.
Yeah, you can give as many rings out as you want.
There are only 55 spots on the Stanley Cup.
Space on the cup,
and eventually they come off because you've got to add new rings to the Stanley Cup. So it's not on there forever, but it's going to be on there for a long time.
So you have to be more careful.
You don't think that what you guys do, or anybody else that are, you know, that represents their team on radio or television, you don't think you have an importance?
Yes, a ring or something to commemorate, that's different than name on the cup to me.
I'm not saying that oh, y'all definitely, but if someone say, like, if you know the owner, you know, Haslam wanted to, if they win the cup this year and Haslam says, listen, Mace, Willy, those guys, Hal and Lindsay, they've been great. And I'm not even talking about the radio guys, but they've been great. And they petition for y'all to be on there as a extra. Now, it may not go through, but I think the gesture there is to show y'all how much y'all still mean to this organization.
I believe there are 5 rings on the Stanley Cup, and they are replaced every 13 years based on my quick Google search.
Okay. So there's a couple levels here. Like I think that when the Cubs won the World Series, it looked like they gave everybody a ring. Like, and that was great. But and so the owner, I wouldn't expect it as an announcer, but if they wanted to do that, I wouldn't feel bad at all. I'm not going to say, oh, don't give me a ring. If they want to commemorate everybody and they want to go to that length, fine. But the finite spots on the Stanley Cup itself, I'd feel terrible if they're like, because I like, for example, anybody who played a second in one of the games should go on before the owner's kids go on, right? I don't know where they drew the line. Maybe they have all the players on there, but then you think about the rest of the inner circle staff, the coaches, the assistant coaches, the video coaches, the equipment staff, the trainers. You're going to get up to 55 pretty quick. And so it's just blind. So they're going to exclude some people if they're not careful. I'd love to know who got excluded. Some people probably in the front office are going, he's on there, the 7-year-old's on there, and I'm not on there. There's got to be some of that going on.
Andrew on our text line says, why do the children's names sound like they come from a Key and Peele skit? Jackson, Flaxen, Waxen.
It's like Eminem.
Caden, Dax, Drew, Blake, and of course, Tegan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right because his name is on the, or I don't even, is it a boy or a girl? I don't even know. Yeah. Their name is on the Stanley Cup. Whoever. So I better know how to pronounce it. 615-737-1025. Fair or foul? Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, placed his wife and his 5 children on the Stanley Cup. Their names are engraved on the Stanley Cup, which means people within the organization who actually had a role in the team winning the Stanley Cup are not on the Stanley Cup. Fair or foul? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction and continue the conversation. Coming up next, we are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. Neil on our text line says, Adam, you should be stripped of music duties. Just horrible. First of all, we rotate.
Wow.
Today is my day. The theme is songs from ex-Disney Channel stars. So far, we've heard Demi Lovato and Hilary Duff. Who will we hear next? You'll find out in about 20 minutes.
I love this theme. Don't
See?
listen to them.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever called in and said
Stick
they
it,
didn't-
Neil.
They didn't like any of our themes until.
What do you
now.
got against Hillary
Exactly.
Duff? Come
What's
on.
wrong with Hillary
She's-
Duff?
she's
It makes me feel
a
like
very
a
nice
kid again.
person.
Yes. I loved Lizzie McGuire.
I guess that person doesn't.
Well, maybe Neil did not experience the magic of Lizzie
Neil
McGuire.
is a bitter man. He's a bitter man.
Yes.
He probably didn't watch any Disney movies.
Yeah, come on. You didn't see Cinderella. You didn't see the
He didn't see his anti
Peter Pan. Yeah. Come on.
So we got a lot of reaction to this, so we're going to continue to discuss it. 615-737-1025. One of the major stories in the NHL today. Also, by the way, another major story in the NHL today. The Anaheim Ducks matched the
Ooh.
Philadelphia Flyers 5-year, $18 million per year contract for Leo Carlson. So Leo Carlson staying in Anaheim, and the Ducks will have to pay him an average of $18 million per year, which makes him the highest paid player in
Wow.
the NHL.
They had to do
He
it.
can't be traded either, right?
He cannot be traded for a year if
Okay.
memory serves.
But then he has no trade protection after that. So they could wheel and deal
Mhm.
if they want to. I think they'll be wanting to hold on to him. But 18 mil is a lot. But
And he
you
even
just
said-
can't move on from a guy that talented. He's really good.
He said today that 99 out of 100 players would have signed that specific offer sheet.
Oh,
If you are being offered $18 million per year, hell yeah, you're going to
I
sign it.
wonder who that other that lone
The one guy.
Yes.
But let me ask you this, Derek. In all seriousness, though, would you feel a little bit of a burden if you're A, very young,
Mhm.
B, you know you're not the best player in the league, but you're making the most money in the league?
Mhm.
Would you feel a little extra weight, even though if he were playing in like Toronto or Montreal,
Mhm.
then this would be a big deal. He's playing in a relatively smaller media market in Anaheim. They're not really in the spotlight, but would you feel some pressure?
Obviously, yeah, there would be pressure that comes because now, this is equivalent to being the highest paid player in the league. I mean, in the NFL,
Yeah.
You're making $70-something million. So, yes,
But
there's
like
the
if Patrick
pressure.
Mahomes making it, that's one thing. But
Uh-huh. But say if a young quarterback? Say if the kid out of New England, they gave
Drake
him-
May.
Drake May.
Drake May, and they gave Drake May
more than Mahomes.
more than Mahomes, 70,
More than
almost
Josh Allen.
exactly. There is not only the pressure to be great for your team, but now you become the face of the NFL. So that pressure is there also. But if you felt, because I've always said, like, listen, a guy can go into negotiations and think he's worth this, but 9 times out of 10, the guy across from him is going to think he's worth something else. Can y'all meet in the middle somewhere? But in this situation, Carlson felt that he deserved 18, and they did as well because they didn't have to give it to him. There was an offer sheet. So he
Yep.
felt, listen, somebody feels I'm worth 18 million. So y'all are going to give it to me. And they gave it to him.
His total salary next season, $20.8 million, including $19.95 million in signing bonus, a base salary of $850,000. So Leo Carlson sticking in Anaheim. Perhaps we'll continue that discussion in a little bit. But the other story that's causing waves in the NHL today, the Carolina Hurricanes, I believe posted on social media. I think this is where this started. The Hurricanes posted on social media the engraving of all of their names on the Stanley Cup because, of course, about a month ago, the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. And Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, put his wife and their 5 children on the Stanley Cup. None of his 5 children work for the Carolina Hurricanes. I believe one of them is 7 years old. So congratulations to the Dundon children. Let me read their names again. Hold on. Let me find it. Caden Dundon, Dax Dundon, Drew Dundon, Blake Dundon, and of course, Tegan Dundon. I
The
really hope
Dundons.
I'm pronouncing
And
that.
what's the maximum number you're allowed to put on?
Okay, so here are the rules. The maximum number of names a championship team can engrave on the trophy is 55. A player is required to have appeared in at least 41 regular season games with a team or one Stanley Cup final game to be eligible to have his name engraved on the Stanley Cup. In 1994, a stipulation was added to allow a team to petition the commissioner for permission to have players' names put on the Stanley Cup if extenuating circumstances prevented them from being able to play. The management staff engraved on the trophy is determined by the team. However, it must be approved by the Hockey Hall of Fame and NHL.
So that's pretty strict. That's more strict than a ring, right? Because there's you can buy as many rings as you want, I would imagine, because there's limited space on the cup. That's stricter than I would have thought. I think if you played a handful of games, if you're a minor league call-up, I think you should go on the cup, at least before the owner's kids, right?
You
Wouldn't
would
wouldn't
tend
we
to
think?
believe, yeah, or think that would be the case. But do y'all think that this will, the same thing that happened in '84 will happen in this situation where they just X out the
So
names?
you're referencing
Yeah.
the Edmonton Oilers. The owner of the Oilers in 1984 had his dad's name engraved on the cup, despite his dad having nothing to do with the team. And the NHL executives forced the Hockey Hall of Fame to cover up his name with a bunch of X's.
So you think that will happen?
No.
I don't
I think the kids
so.
are there to stay for a couple decades.
But it's too bad that you don't really have this is done before you really check with anybody. Like I was reading, I think Jeff Merrick had a sort of a layout on how it works, but it's like it gets to them before you have a chance to say, wait a minute, before we put these names on there,
We need
to have a discussion.
Do you think there'll be a rule implemented
I think there should be.
after this? Because now it's like a free fall, really. Now anybody can say, well, we just had a daughter last year and we win a championship. This is a good luck charm. Bam. I want to put him or her on a trophy.
I would just hate to have somebody who really would be more deserving of having his or her name on the cup and not because of this, right? So this lowered the list by 6, right? So there's 6 names maybe they could have put on that aren't on there. And I'll give you an example. And this is not apples to apples because we're talking about World Series rings here. But there's a guy that I'm wearing my Mets hat today. By the way, the Mets won their second straight game. Hey, way to go, Mets. They're only like 16 games under 500 right now.
They're on the streak, right?
But back in the glory days, 1986, they won the World Series. And a young man from Nashville named John Mitchell, who grew up, I think he played at Overton High School. He pitched a few games for the 86 Mets. He actually pitched a lot more the next year, but he wasn't on the postseason roster. But there were, just like every team, there was a lot of players that might have played a few games along the way, but weren't on the big roster in the playoffs. And they drew the line and they didn't say, hey, everybody who played a game gets the ring. And so there were some of those kind of players like John that got rings and some that didn't. And there was a long process, and I don't even know to this day whether John ended up getting one or not. I haven't caught up. This was several years ago. He shared this with me. I was like, man, that's a bummer to hear, because he says it was a little arbitrary on some of the role players who got a ring and who didn't. And that's a bummer to draw the line there. And so if I can see it, if like you're making a tough call, but the owner's kids, the wife's name,
yeah, they want to
come on.
commemorate the kid.
If you're having to draw a line and it's cut off because you have these other 6 names and you have some other people like, hey, they did a lot of work. They were there behind the scenes. They were there in the tough times. That's a bummer.
Do any
It's not
of the
right.
children work in any capacity?
I don't know how old his children are.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, they
none of
didn't
them
say.
are affiliated with the Carolina Hurricanes other than being the children
owner's son,
of
the
the
owner,
owner. One texter says, his wife made him do it.
Hey.
John's-
Argue with
You
that.
get me on that cup. You get me on that cup.
John, supporting Tom Dundon, says he owns the team. When you spend $1 billion on a team, you get to decide what's on the trophy.
Doesn't the league have
Yeah.
that's the question? Really is. Shouldn't the league be able to say, wait a minute?
Mhm.
Chuck says, I agree with Derek. The television announcers, Willy and DMase, truly energize me and make me want to go to the games to support the Predators. And when I do go, I do feel energized by the team. So announcers definitely play a role in the success of a team.
Hey, that's just me,
I say this as much as I love Willy Donick. If the Predators ever lift the Stanley Cup and someone says, hey, do you think Willy should be on the cup? No. Willy should not be on the cup.
Not on the cup.
Willy should not be on the
There's
cup.
other ways to recognize.
You want to get him a ring? Fine.
What the texture is saying, that's very flattering, and there's a way to recognize that without saying he needs to be on the cup.
No.
You're not going to have me on this show going, put me on that cup. Put me on the cup.
It's not that y'all are taking the place of someone else. We are petitioning to put you on the cup. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, that person over there that has been here every day working for this team, helping the players out. I'm not saying that person needs to be taken off. What I'm saying is put who you're going to put on there, the people that are deserving, but then let's petition. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, then, obviously we'll find another way to honor you guys, whether it be on television or on radio, in a way with the whole team.
Adam, read the guidelines of the players again. Like, how many games do you have to play to get on the cup?
At least 41 regular season games,
that's a lot.
or one Stanley Cup final game.
So that's I don't know. That's got to be, depending on how many injuries you have during the course of the year, that's got to be a lot of times, 10, 12 guys, maybe more, that have played some games that don't qualify by that. Like remember the old Black Aces? Like a lot of times they still have them, right? You have those backers. If you get a bunch of injuries in the postseason, you might need those guys. But there's some quality. If you don't use them, but they played 6 or 8 or 10 games in the regular season, they don't go on the cup. That's a bummer.
Dustin in Hopkinsville says, it's tacky. It's not NHL-like. It takes away from the team, coaches, people who brought the cup to the city and the team. Dustin also says that he requests Ariana Grande, but Ariana Grande was more Nickelodeon than Disney. So sorry, Dustin.
Got to draw the line.
But Dustin does say Hillary Duff has aged like fine wine. She absolutely has. Okay, I hope my wife's not listening. JC in Goodlettsville says, it's selfish, obtuse, and out of touch with reality. Like Adam's takes on complete teardown and rebuilding Predators. Why do I'm catching so many strays over the past couple of days. This is the week
of strays. You've had a week of strays.
I've caught 2 strays in this segment alone. What is going on? One texter says, all I know is when, not if. All I know is when the Predators win the Stanley Cup, they better put Craig Partner Ball's name on it. Now, Partner,
I think there's a good chance.
I could absolutely see that. Partner is a part of the team.
Yes.
He's there every day. So if they want to put him on the Stanley Cup, absolutely. No problem with that. But there's just the owner's kids. Like, why does Dax Dundon need to have his name on the Stanley Cup next to some of the greatest players in NHL history and all of the other Dundons? I don't know. It to me, something doesn't.
Very strange.
It's very strange.
Tacky is a really good word.
Tacky is absolutely a good word. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on this. Plus, another NHL team is doing something that has never been done before in league history and not putting the owner's kids on the Stanley Cup. It's actually something cooler than that. We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. There's an NHL team doing something really cool. The New York Islanders will feature a fan-designed third jersey in 2027, 2028. They are billing the promotion as the first of its kind in NHL history. So you can go to the Islanders website, and they've got a design template, jersey striping, jersey colors, logos, nameplate and numbering, all of that stuff. Our friend Greg Wyshynski of ESPN.com said as of 11:30 a.m. Eastern today, the Islanders contest had over 30,000 entries. So people are very excited about this. But it got me wondering if Predators fans had the same opportunity, if the Predators did this sort of contest where you can design a third jersey for the 2027-2028 NHL season, how would you do it? What would you change? 615-737-1025.
I think you have to change anything. You're just adding a third jersey.
Yeah. You can make it however you want.
Yes,
I think you'd be a little more pressure if you're putting the real uniform out there. But if it's a third jersey,
you are creating a third jersey.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. I wonder how many teams. Is there anybody in any other sport that's done it? Like, I would think other teams in leagues might look at this and say, "Hey, we ought to do that."
The Browns did it a couple years ago for their midfield logo, but not for a jersey. I do remember that.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't seem like this is something that
the winner will receive a VIP game day experience for the jersey's debut, plus a team signed version of the jersey. Yes.
I would think maybe you give that person a little more. You can maybe some season tickets or something. They're going to sell these, right? They're going to make a lot of money off them, possibly. Now, you said they sort of laid out options. So it's not like you can just come in with anything. The team does have some a lane that they're carving out, right? That everybody's working within, which I think that's a smart idea.
They've got a template where they've got, it looks like here, maybe 15 different jerseys based on the striping and all of that. Multiple logo designs, colors. So it's not like you can create this thing absolutely from scratch. There are some limits to what you can do, but it is very interesting.
You don't have to stick with the colors of the team. Do you have to?
Now, in this template, no, you do not.
Okay.
It's not just blue and orange. You can do whatever you want.
Okay. What would be the third color for the Predators?
Navy.
Navy?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of Predators fans have been clamoring
for a Navy
jersey. The Predators did have a Navy jersey a while back. Correct me if I'm wrong, Willie. It had checkered flag, like a checkered flag design on it, right around the bottom.
Yes, it was a Navy jersey. It was very clean. It was the third jersey, and it was deemed kind of like the black and blue, but really it was navy with white, very clean. It really took all gold out of it. You could have a sort of a reboot that could throw some highlights of gold in there, but they did have like a black checkerboard at the bottom of it. It was pretty subtle, but they were a big hit. In fact, some people still like to bring some to the games. I want to say it was around 2010 to 2012-ish, right in there, that they had these. And then they went away for it for one reason or another. And they haven't really had a third jersey for a good while now. So they're kind of in a window where they could create a third jersey. And a lot of people, I think, they don't want to go away from the gold, but it's a nice little change of pace because the gold is distinctive. When you see the gold, you know it's the Predators. And the other teams have kind of got the Penguins kind of went to that this past year, at least for a third jersey. But night in and night out, when you see the gold, it's like that's the Predators. So that's a good thing. I wouldn't want to change. But a change of pace, Navy jersey, I think is a great idea.
So would it be all Navy? And I was thinking, because you have to, if you're a fan, I know you want to incorporate something from the city, downtown, whether it's the skyline. And how would you put that on the jersey, maybe the bottom half of the jersey going all the way around.
That's an
Or on
interesting
the collar.
I
where
can see
it's an
Derek wants
outline
to
with
enter the
blue.
contest.
Hey, I would love to.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying something that keeps the Predator color, but also a representation of Nashville.
That would be up to the fans, right?
Yeah.
Because that is
If
now
I,
to me.
the fan,
To
was doing
me,
it.
one of the things I will say made the previous Navy jersey stand out is it was really clean. It was a straight up traditional look, and it looked great. And it was such a cool. You knew it was the Predators. They didn't look completely different because they were within their color scheme, but it was a great look. They nailed it. And for me, sometimes when you do these things, like I'll give the example of the City Connect uniforms in Major League Baseball. I think those are atrocious. Atrocious. And so the skyline,
Yeah.
I would say it's a good idea if it's done subtly, but
Yes.
sometimes these City Connect uniforms, they try to do something like that, and it just looks so messy. They do like dark colors on dark colors. It just doesn't look like a baseball uniform.
But it encompasses really the whole jersey. This wouldn't. It would just be more
I think
so
if
at the
done right,
bottom.
it would be really cool. That's why I think the choices that you have, you would need to keep that with the idea of, okay, we're good with all these elements, and so nobody gets completely crazy here with it. That would be how I would do it.
Or like Hughes' helmet, like just the outline of the city, skyline of the city.
Well, like, for
that would be so
example,
nice.
I have to imagine if the Predators did the same thing that the Islanders are doing, they would probably include a couple of vintage logos. They would include the current logo. They probably would include the original logo. They probably would include the 3D logo that was on the mustard jerseys back
Rolling
in the
Stones
day.
tongue.
Yeah.
Those were pretty popular back in the day. The mustards. They
brought them back a couple of years ago.
For whatever reason, they had a great record in those jerseys. They brought the mustard back, but I don't think they put that logo with the Rolling Stones looking tongue.
Maybe they would have the logo that the Predators wore on the shoulder, the skeleton of the
it's an option
of the Sabretooth. Maybe that pick logo that they have right now.
Yeah, the NP.
Right. So those would probably be your choices. So they don't let you go completely nuts on this. But I do think it would be interesting if the Predators did this. One texter says, a light blue Predators third jersey would be really cool. I bet people would design a Titans-esque jersey that was light blue with some red striping on it. No.
That ain't gonna work.
You have to have the colors. It's got to be the blue and gold combo with maybe a little silver mixed in there if you like, but stick within the scheme. But I love the concept of let's appreciate the fans. The fans choose, not the executive. You know, the executives give you the guidelines. The team lays out here are the choices, but fans, you guys decide. But that's a really cool salute to the ones that are really important.
The only Predators jersey they've had that has been, I would say, predominantly blue since that alternate jersey was the jersey they wore during the Stadium Series game in 2022. And that jersey created some when it first came out, people didn't love it. I remember.
No, the reaction was really bad to start. And then when the game rolled around, I'll put myself in the category. When I first saw that, I was like, how's that going to go over? Because they had Smashville on the front. I would say, though, that as it grew on you, I'll say this.
Start to embrace it.
People still wear those. I see them a lot. I don't think it was as high ranked as I would put it on the all-time list of jerseys as the Winter Classic one they wore, which I thought was a great. They nailed that. They had that Dixie Flyer kind of design to it. I thought that was fantastic. The Smashville one, I came around to it, and I heard all the noise. But you have to be prepared for that, right? When you go outside the box there's always going to be a wave of negativity because people can't resist on social media to say, oh, this is terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. There's always an overreaction, I think, initially to something that is completely different than people have seen before.
I would have a primarily navy blue jersey with the skeleton saber-toothed tiger.
You like that, huh?
I do. I think that would look really cool. The skeleton saber-toothed tiger that the Predators have worn on the shoulders, I would make that a primary logo for this particular jersey.
Okay.
If given the choice.
See, I would not. But see, that's the beauty of the contest.
I
You
believe
let the fans decide.
So I believe how this contest is going to work for the Islanders is there's going to be some sort of select committee who votes on the top 5, and then there will be a fan vote for that top 5.
Okay.
And the winner will receive a team-signed third jersey and tickets to the first game of the jersey.
Doesn't that seem like it's kind of not the level of prize that it could be for something like that? If you win that contest, I would think you get a little more.
You should get a cut of the proceeds.
Well,
right? Some residuals.
That would be great. But short of that, more than just, hey, you get a great night at the game. One game? You designed a jersey what if it's the best jersey you've ever designed and they end up going with that jersey forever?
C from Franklin says, I have an original blue number 7 Matt Cullen jersey. My name is Cullen, hence C from Franklin. It is my most prized sports jersey. I chuckled when they drafted Wyatt Cullen. Its life has been extended. By the way, we had Matt Cullen on the show. Was that last week? Feels like last week. So go back and listen to that. But C from Franklin, Cullen, we appreciate the text message. I do have to call you out on something that grinds my gears as a jersey lover. Now, Willie, before I go into this, I need to know the Navy jersey. If I'm thinking of the Navy Predators alternate jersey, that jersey was out of the rotation when Matt Cullen was a member of the Nashville Predators. Is that correct?
Matt Cullen would have gotten there Barry Trotz's last season as the head coach.
2013-14 and 2014-15 were.
And I believe in 2011-2012, I think that was the first year they went to gold as their primary jersey. They wore Navy jerseys
so the black
for the first decade plus of their career as the main jersey. They didn't have a gold jersey. Tom Sigaran was the one that really was the visionary of let's show everybody that we're Nashville. Let's be distinct. And he started switching over to the gold. So I think if I've got that right.
The Predators website says the black and blue third jersey was worn between 2009 and 2011.
Right.
Which means that Matt Cullen, if I'm thinking of...
He wouldn't have played a game in that jersey is what you're getting at. Yeah.
That is one of my jersey pet peeves. You cannot have a player on a jersey that player never wore. Matt Cullen, I'm sorry, Cullen from Franklin. Yeah. Matt Cullen never wore that jersey. If I saw you...
So once again, Adam Raines on the parade.
If I saw you
I'm
on
sure
the
there
concourse,
won't be a backlash. Nobody's going to reach out to Adam.
If I saw you on the concourse, I would think to myself, that's a jersey foul. Matt Cullen never wore that jersey.
I have seen it. Like, I'll give you another example that you see from time to time. Like, say what you will about the Yankees, right? I'm not a Yankee fan. But the Yankees, they have their traditions. One of them is they don't put the name.
No last names on the back.
They don't put the name on the back. So if you have a Yankees jersey and it says Jeter, that's not a real Yankees jersey, right? You're not sticking to the authenticity. Right?
So Cullen, I appreciate you listening. He says he's had it since 2010. I appreciate you listening. I want you to wear that jersey with pride, but I will also judge you.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
The poor guy is just driving on.
He was excited to call and tell us or text and tell us, and then Adam rains on his parade.
Let the rain fall down and rain on your parade.
That's what he wanted.
Colin, on behalf of DVD,
we're apologize.
Sorry. Don't apologize.
We're sorry.
Keep your eye out on the mail.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. But I do think it is a really cool idea by the New York Islanders, allowing their fans to design a jersey. And I've seen some of the mock-ups online. I've seen people have some fun with it. I believe I saw an Islanders jersey rendered as a Rangers jersey, red, white, and blue. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that will pass the sniff test for this committee voting for the top 5. So you can have some fun with it. But I do think it's a really cool idea. 615-737-1025. If the Predators did this same contest, the Islanders are letting fans design a third jersey. How would you design a new Predators third jersey? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to that. Plus, as we all know, it is talking season. All of the major college football conferences are having their media days this month. The SEC media days are coming up in a couple of weeks. Big 12 media days just wrapped up, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought we should spend some time this month looking at what I call the worst of media days. And we will do that with the Big 12 coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. How could I have a theme of ex-Disney Channel stars without Justin Timberlake?
Now, is this the Mouseketeers?
He was on the Mickey Mouse Club.
I know he was, but is this one of the Mouseketeers songs? Or is
No,
this NSYNC?
this is his debut single album, I think.
Justified.
Justified, yeah.
So you took some liberties. You fast forwarded later in his career. This is not him as a
Well,
Mouseketeer.
I mean, Demi Lovato did not sing "Cool for the Summer" when she was on Disney.
Which I was very disappointed. I wanted to hear some actual Hannah Montana today.
Well,
but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, you
No.
can do the theme next time and do it your way.
I will. I'll do it tomorrow.
No, these are good. These are
Okay, all right. So it's talking season in college football. Media days are happening. SEC media days, they're coming up. The Big 12 had its media days this week. And as someone who has attended only one media day before, I attended SEC media days when it was in Nashville a few years ago. It was an eye-opening experience for me as someone who had never covered a media days before. And when you are at a media day, you see some weird stuff. And you see some reporters asking some weird questions. So I thought throughout this month, we should highlight the worst of media days. Okay? And we are going to start with a clip that went viral earlier this week. Before we have Connor play it, let's just set this up. This is Big 12 Media Days. Brett Yormark, commissioner, correct, of the Big 12.
Mhm.
He's on the stage answering questions. He's wearing a wireless microphone. He's prowling the stage like he's giving an aggressive TED Talk. And he's about to be asked a question by Sean Dillon, who is a Lubbock-based media personality. So he covers Texas Tech. Okay? Keep all of that in mind.
Oh, man.
Here is the exchange between Sean Dillon and Brett Yormark.
Sean Dillon, Rocket Brigade. Commission, Texas Tech got fined over tortillas, and tortillas were banned outright. OSU paddles broke an always maker rule, has a tradition exemption. Sorsby never played a snap for the Red Raiders. Big 12 sued them anyway, while Cincinnati hasn't been yet touched. You're selling greater than 12. Why should Texas Tech fans believe it?
Can you sit? Let me come closer to you. Stand up. Ask that question again, and I'm going to give you the answer I want to give you. So go ahead.
Texas Tech got fined for tortillas, and tortillas were banned outright. OSU has had paddles that were given a noisemaker exemption back in 2012. Sorsby never played a snap for the Red Raiders, and yet there is a lawsuit. Cincinnati has yet to be touched. You're selling greater than 12. Why should Texas Tech fans believe them?
No, I didn't say greater than 12. You misquoted me. I said we're going forward as 16 strong, and that's my answer to your question. But thank you for that question. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I was completely lost.
All right, let's unpack this. First of all, the word is tortilla.
It's not tortilla.
If you were wondering, what is he talking about?
Tortillas? Tortilla. He added like 7 different syllables.
Tortilla?
He's referencing tortillas. Now, Connor, what is the connection between tortillas and Texas Tech? Do you
And
know?
Brandon Sorsby.
I do.
And what's the 12 at the end?
Okay, hold on. So let's figure out what's
I'm
going on with the
confused.
tortillas.
It used to be, before it was outlawed, I believe it was last season, that at the opening kickoff, when Texas Tech was kicking the ball off, fans would bring tortillas into the stands and toss them up in the air.
Did they also bring tortillas? Tortillas?
I don't know about tortillas, but tortillas were brought.
But that practice has been banned by the Big 12.
Whatever
Yes.
the related things are, you can't do that anymore.
For one, the guy was
The
especially
worst delivery ever.
but especially when Yormark said stand up. He started sweating like no other.
He was emasculating this
He
man.
was just
Stand up
you
and
can
say
just-
it again.
And it was like being in a classroom on the first day, you the new kid, and the teacher says, "You, little Derek, stand up." It was like, holy crap. You're asking me to stand up in front of everybody. That's how he made it. So not only did, and I'm not gonna listen, he mispronounced it. Okay, fine. Everybody knew what he meant. It was funny, yeah, but we all mispronounce words. But what made it worse is when he said, stand up. Stand up. And once he said stand up, you knew it was over.
Well, let me read to you from the Associated Press
The Associated Press had to do a story on
Oh,
this.
wow.
In
on this
case you
question.
need clarification on what that question was about,
I
One-
definitely do.
one reporter
Mhm.
asked Yormark why Texas Tech fans should believe comments about the league moving ahead as one. The reporter mentioned that the Big 12 last year targeted the school's tortilla throwing tradition, passing the measure on a 15-1 vote, while Oklahoma State has an artificial noise exemption for students to bang paddles against the stadium pads along the sideline. He also mentioned Cincinnati, Sorsby's former school. So the point this reporter was trying to make is, why should Texas Tech fans feel like they are not being unfairly targeted by the Big 12 in the
Right.
wake of the Brendan Sorsby gambling saga?
It's the worst worded question with all kinds of confusion mixed in there. But if you get down to that,
Mhm.
if you sort it out like you just did, Adam, you did a good job of it. I still don't know how you can possibly compare that to the specific issue of the quarterback bet on games. That is way different than tortillas.
But
Right?
he used that as
He
he used
should've just-
tortilla
he
as a
should've-
way to slide in
Yes.
the Sorsby.
He should have just said, "Are you going to investigate Cincinnati since he was at Cincinnati,
Mhm.
and we need to know, did Cincinnati know these things? He played for Cincinnati." Now that's a legitimate question. But he tried to work in the tortillas and he couldn't even say tortilla.
It's been reported that the NCAA has sent a letter of inquiry,
yes.
to Cincinnati.
So
Centered
Tony, did Tony,
on
our
Brendan
buddy
Sorsby.
at the NCAA
Tony
office,
finally
he had
got
something
a
to do.
phone call.
He also
Hey,
looks like
Tony.
Newman.
Hey Tony, call
Yeah.
we're going to call Texas Tech and say, or Cincinnati, we're going to investigate it. We're sending them in a
We
letter.
may.
I need you to draw up a letter.
We
Letter of
may
inquiry.
investigate y'all.
Oh, thanks, boss. Thanks, boss. Got something to do now. I'll get
It-
off of
It
Facebook.
took him all of 15 minutes.
The best part of this whole thing
Mhm.
is the background, because if you've never been to a media days or watched these news conferences online or on television, there are just rows of tables for reporters to sit at while they're working and asking questions. There are two reporters behind this reporter asking the question, just face palming, like, oh my God, like, is he asking this
Yes.
question?
What is happening now?
I'm trying to stifle my laughter over the pronunciation of tortilla.
I think had he got the word out right correctly the first time,
He may have been nervous. He may have just stuttered a little bit because he was nervous.
I don't think.
And then
people
Yormark
would-
said,
yeah.
"Stand up and do it again."
Hey, kid.
Say
stand
what
up.
again? It was Jules Winfield from Pulp Fiction.
He told that man to stand up, repeat what you just said. I don't know if he was trying to give him a opportunity to correct.
I think Yormark was trying to humiliate him
I'm
personally.
trying to give people the benefit of the doubt here.
Well, one texter says, "Great question. Yormark is a pompous jackass."
Well, I guess that's
And I
what-
hate
there we
Tech,
go.
and I hate Texas Tech. His first delivery was fine. Yormark bullied him because he knew old boy had him dead to rights as a pathetic hypocrite. The question is simple if you follow college football. Texas Tech screwed. Oklahoma State, gets a pass like pathetic Mississippi State in their cowbells. Texas Tech screwed again. Cincinnati totally untouched when they knew everything about Sorsby.
But
Not
you-
to mention he sold the naming rights of the entire conference for $1 million a team. What a joke.
Do they have a point in,
Tell us how you really
in
feel.
a way of and yeah, he shouldn't have brought in the whole Sorsby issue. He should have left that alone. But then had he not put that in a question, maybe no one would have really paid attention to what he was asking. But are they being fair to the Big 12 where you're telling us we can't do this, but you're allowing other schools to do what they normally do, or what is a tradition? Because this is a tradition for us.
I think that if he had streamlined his question and really thought through it and say, how do I effectively ask it? The real question is Texas Tech being treated fairly?
Yes.
There's a way better way to ask that question, obviously. So he just tried to be this real great presentation, and he just bumbled it all over the place. Why the tortillas and the Norse make it? That's excess.
But he had that written
need it.
down, Willie. He had it written
Oh,
down.
yeah.
He had it.
I feel like he tried to rehearse it somewhere. He probably sounded great at his hotel room.
I'm sure
probably.
it did sound great until Earmark said stand up and repeat it again. Jerk.
Dylan in Antioch says, well, the part that doesn't make sense is that he pronounced it wrong first, then correctly in the same sentence twice. What?
Yes, he did. He did.
Caleb says Cincinnati not being touched is a great question, though.
It is. That's a
Yeah.
fair question to ask. What's going to happen to Cincinnati?
And your Mark, I will not defend him on this. Your Mark was not entertaining any questions about Brendan Sorsby. The first question he got asked about it, he said, quote, I appreciate the questions. I appreciate other questions that are probably going to come forth today. Today is not the time to address that issue. Okay. When is the right time
It's
to
Big
address
12
this
Media
issue?
Day.
What else is there to
Oh, wow.
discuss? That's the biggest story in college football.
I think it's a question that everybody
Mhm.
is curious about, knowing now that Sorsby bet on games when he was at Indiana, played for Cincinnati for a long time, and then got nailed after he signed with Texas Tech but never played for Texas Tech. It's a very logical thing to say, well, what did Cincinnati know? Did they know about it? It's just a question. They should find out.
And I think they are trying to do that. Keith says maybe the commissioner is just strongly against wasting food.
Could be. I mean, hey, bunch of starving people
Perfectly
out here.
good tortilla.
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 It reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite. Make yourself a dang quesadilla.
Quesadilla.
I don't know if you noticed earlier, Adam, you accidentally said Cincinnati.
Oh, Cincinnati.
That's
Is that a
good one.
mix between a tortilla and Cincinnati?
I don't know what I was thinking.
I dated a Cincinnati once.
Oh,
A girl named Natalie from Cincinnati. There you go.
I don't know.
Goes by Nat.
So see, I'm not perfect. I've certainly stumbled over questions before in my career. So, just when you put the Big 12 media days on TV and everybody can pull the clips from the news conferences, that's what happened. As Connor said, last year, I think this was last year. Last year, Texas Tech banned the throwing of tortillas by fans on kickoffs after the 14th ranked Red Raiders were penalized twice and fined for objects being thrown onto the field in their most recent home game. So, are they corn tortillas, flour tortillas?
Crispy.
They're not
Soft.
soft.
I'm more of a flour guy myself.
I'm a flour tortilla guy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, Derek, what about you?
Flour.
Okay. We've reached a consensus. Much easier than
Now,
we did
Luda,
yesterday.
I do every once in a while corn tortilla.
Okay, good to know. So we are going to continue to highlight the worst of media days throughout this month. As our friend Adam in Portland says, I say this with love. The only thing worse than the way that guy asked the question is this segment about it. Please, God, give us football. I mean, look, we're all there. All right.
This is football.
It is football adjacent. We've still got a couple of weeks to go until Titans training camp. And you know what?
We're going to make it fun for
We're
you.
going to make it fun for you. All right. We won't always talk about tortillitas,
Or turned it Italian.
tortellinis, tortillas, tortillas.
However you want to say it.
Now I'm really hungry. 615-737-1025. We will talk about actual football coming up next because Pro Football Focus unveiled something recently that for someone like me who loves numbers, it was not safe for work. Let me just put it to you that way. 615-737-1025. Willy Dunick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The game. Willy, Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you on your drive home. The U.S. men's national team has been eliminated from the World Cup, but the World Cup is ongoing. And France is closing in on eliminating Morocco in the quarterfinals. And I do have a soccer-themed topic in just a little bit. Dylan in Antioch says, wait a minute. Leo Carlson is going to make $18 million a year. Did I hear that right? Dylan, you did. So in case you missed it, last Friday, the Philadelphia Flyers gave an offer sheet to Leo Carlson of the Anaheim Ducks. Carlson signed the offer sheet. It was a 5-year deal with a cap hit of, yes, $18 million per year, which makes Carlson the highest paid player in the NHL at the moment, entering next season with an $18 million cap hit. Earlier today, the Anaheim Ducks matched the offer sheet. So they've got to, Carlson is going to play for the Ducks under the contract that the Flyers gave him. That's how offer sheets work, basically. So yes, Dylan, you did hear that correctly. Leo Carlson will be making $18 million per year. Think of all of the great players in the NHL. Leo Carlson, at the moment, will make more than all of them. And he is how old, Willie? 21?
21.
Wow.
So,
And he is, just for reference, a very, very good player. But he's not, like, he's a potential super freak. We always talk about, like, who are the real game changers? He's potentially one. But it's not like he's already done it. It's not quite like a Connor McDavid or a Sidney Crosby where he's that superlative. Like, he is next level down. Like, he is going to be a superstar, I think, barring injury. But it was a leap of faith. That's the only way you could pry a player away from a team like the Ducks, is to make it so much of an overpay that they even say, well, he's not worth that. And it was close. But I think the Ducks just like, hey, we messed this up. It shouldn't have got to this, but we've got to match the offer. It's not totally unlike Shea Weber, who was a little bit older and more established at the time. But the Flyers tried the same stunt back in, what was it, 2012?
yes,
Adam?
2012.
And as you noted a couple weeks ago, that contract has finally
Yes, it expired on July 1st.
the 14-year offer sheet.
Insane.
Wow.
Thank goodness.
Caleb says, is Leo Carlson actually worth that? At the moment, probably not. But if he continues on the path he's on, he could be worth that sooner rather than later.
Especially as the cap goes up, right?
Yes, yes. So speaking of freaky, pause for effect. Pro Football Focus released its 2026 quarterback annual. And let me tell you something. If you listen to the top of the show, you hear me say, and I am a nerd and I like to look at the numbers. And boy, oh boy, are there numbers. So many numbers. Numbers I don't even understand. There are so many different tabs and subheads and decimal points. This is not safe for work for me. I felt like I needed to tell my wife, I need to be alone for a few minutes while I'm looking at this. I'm joking, kind of. But I was curious to see what this Pro Football Focus quarterback annual said about Cam Ward. And to summarize what you saw from Cam Ward, I don't think anything in here changed my opinion on what I watched from Cam Ward, but it was really interesting to see how detailed Pro Football Focus got in analyzing Cam Ward's game. So I don't want to get into too much detail because, as I said, there are things in here that I don't understand. But when we talk about the issues Cam Ward had last season in his rookie year for the Tennessee Titans, the number one thing that often comes up is what? His accuracy, right? So Pro Football Focus in this quarterback annual has a tab on accuracy, and they really break it down. So, for example, there were 43 qualified quarterbacks in this research project. Cam Ward had an accurate throw rate of 58.5%, which ranked 30th out of 43 qualified quarterbacks. To be accurate, according to Pro Football Focus, is when a passer puts the ball on the receiver's frame so that he doesn't need to adjust or slow down to make the play and continue after the catch. So Cam Ward ranked in the bottom half of the sample in the number of throws he made that were considered accurate. I think if you watch Cam Ward all season, that checks out. No?
Yeah.
From there, this is where it gets interesting. Nearly a quarter of his pass attempts were considered both uncatchable and inaccurate, where the wide receiver would have to make a Herculean effort to catch the ball. Cam Ward ranked 34th out of 43 qualified quarterbacks. So if you sit there and say, Cam Ward, he is an inaccurate passer, and you're not just looking at completion percentage, the numbers bear it out. He is below average in terms of his accuracy. But Derek, here's where things get even more interesting. Pro Football Focus broke down every single one of Cam Ward's incompletions last season. And I think it's interesting to see how those incompletions were graded. 27.6% were caused by the defense. 22.1% don't fall into any specific category. 12.9% were overthrows. Another 12.9% were receiver error. 11.5% were in front of receivers. 5.5% were behind receivers. So when you hear that, the percentage of overthrows, the percentage of receiver errors, the percentage of throws in front of receivers, what does that tell you about Cam Ward's season when you hear the numbers based on what you saw during the season?
I mean, I think it's about accurate in a sense, because when you're watching the game and then you compare it to the numbers, you say, well, and we talked about this a lot, where he seems to be strong at and some things he seemed to be not so strong. If you look at it, it's sort of, when you compare the two, it sort of, bears out that way, because when anywhere from 10 to 19 yards, he's below average in his accuracy. But anything above like 20 plus, he's above average when you're talking about accuracy. So some of it had to do with the routes being ran and them two not being on the same page. And some of it had to do with him just missing. But I want to know how, like, what do they mean by, okay, some of it was the line's fault, the pressure, and then some of it, wasn't the pressure? Because as looking at the season, a lot of it was because of the offensive line.
I think this is a big challenge of the state of the data that you have now. Right now, everybody's looking for the next level. And baseball was the first, right, to have the real analytics, right? That's where the whole Moneyball movie came from. It was originally a book that chronicled what they were doing, the Oakland A's, way back in the early 2000s. And now you fast forward almost a quarter of a century. It's pretty scary to think it's been that long. And now every sport wants to know how you do it. The hard part is in football, maybe even more than any sport. Soccer might be one. Analytics is a part of it. You're learning things, but it's so hard when you got 22 guys moving to try to figure out, was it the quarterback? Was it the line? Was it the receiver? And baseball, it's a little easier. It's pitcher versus hitter. It's more of a static game, and I think it's easier to decipher the numbers. Hockey is similar, right? It's a constant flow. Soccer is a constant flow. Football, it is a play, a rest, and a play. So maybe you can find out, but with so many players that could influence a play, they're still trying to drill down on how you do it. So you're asking the right questions, and so the numbers, I think, will illuminate something, but I still think it's imperfect, right?
Because my thing is, how many of, and they probably did somewhere, somehow you can find this, but when you're talking about, accuracy or throws that were off or overthrown, how many of those were at the beginning of the year, the first 8 games, and how many of those were the last 9 games of the season? That factors into it as well, because I saw a different quarterback once they came back off their break the second half of the season. He was, and I think everybody saw that. Now, was it great where it would have led him to? No, but you saw a distinct difference from the guy the first 8 games of the season to the guy the last 9.
That's a good question. The other thing, too, that I found really interesting, Cam Ward was in the top 5 in only one category in this Pro Football Focus quarterback annual. And that was in a category called interception luck. Cam Ward was the second luckiest quarterback in the NFL this past season based on the number of interceptions he threw compared to the number of interceptions he should have thrown based on the quality of his throws. He threw 4.5 fewer interceptions than he should. Let's round it up to a whole number, 5. He threw 5 fewer interceptions than he should have based on the quality of his throws.
We also use the football almanac, the FTN Fantasy, it's called now. It's evolved in the name of it, but Aaron Schatz is sort of the godfather. And they have the interception-worthy throws. So this would be a similar one. Now, that one I think is easier to understand, and I think that one does make sense, even though I would think there's a little subjectivity in that. But I think you put it in a nutshell here. These are the fancy stats, but it does match the eye test. In fact, it might even have you more, I don't know, worried. It's a little more ominous what these numbers are telling you about Cam Ward and how far he has to go. Would you agree, Adam, and what you're reading? Like, we know the basic numbers. He's ranked whatever. And we want to say it was a gasoline fire. It was terrible. There was nothing around him. He was just trying to survive, which is all true. But I think you're trying to clear out some of the other things and also ask what's fair. And I still think there are a lot of question marks based on what these numbers say for whatever they're worth.
You're trying, as always, when you are trying to analyze a player's play, you're trying to marry what you see on the field or the ice or the court with what the analytics say.
Yeah, and it's trying to account for the context
right.
of the gasoline fire.
Right. So based on what I've been able to gather, and I'm still working through this. I mean, I think this is something
I commend you for going through the numbers.
This is something I think we can reference throughout the offseason, quite frankly, and into training camp. Nothing that I have seen on here changes my opinion of Cam Ward. Again, if you thought Cam Ward, or if you think Cam Ward is inaccurate, the Pro Football Focus numbers will tell you he's below average in that category. It's not like, wow, he's actually a lot more accurate than I thought.
That's what you were hoping to see.
Right.
Some of that.
Right. But that isn't there. Another thing I found interesting is Pro Football Focus looked at all of the pressures allowed by the Tennessee Titans and placed the blame on everybody, basically. 20.9% of the pressures faced by Cam Ward were his fault, according to Pro Football Focus, which ranked 33rd out of 43 quarterbacks. 22.8% of the pressures were because of the left tackle, so thank you, Dan Moore. 25.7% of the pressures were because of the right tackle, so thank you, J.C. Latham. So if you're a bit worried about the state of the offensive line, those numbers don't make you feel any better that the left tackle and the right tackle are allowing a lot of pressures. But Cam Ward did bring a lot of it on himself this past season.
Yeah, and again, it's how do you marry what you're seeing on the field to what the numbers are saying?
So
because, again, the first half of the season, we all know what it looked like. And if you would have put these numbers in front of me the first half of the season, I was like, yep, that's what I'm seeing. But then if you put it all together and the end of the year, you tell me this is what it is, I'm thinking like, well, yeah, at the beginning I saw that. But what I saw in the second half of the season, it's a different quarterback. Now, if you can break it down, midway through the season and have 2 sets of numbers, that's how you see the true essence of whether a quarterback is developing or not. You're not just taking it and say, okay, he's a 50% completion guy and his accuracy is bad. Well, where did he start? And did he get better as he went on, even though we know he still has a lot of work to do? So I would love to see, and it doesn't have it, but this is why sometimes you look at it and you say, okay, and you say, well, maybe it's not really everything the numbers are saying, because there's 2 chapters to this book.
And that leads me to my biggest question off of this presentation, Adam, because let's give a little history. The Titans were very slow to get into the analytics world, and they were not making a secret of it. That wasn't like something that they hid. John Robinson and Mike Vrabel both were kind of like, yeah, analytics are here. We kind of look at them. But they were both like, they were eye test guys. And they said, we go by what we've always gone by. It's about players. It's about people. And that still has a lot of value. But if you're not looking at these numbers, you're leaving a lot on the table. And other teams are looking at the numbers. And it is influencing what we're seeing on the field. So my biggest question is, today, with the new regime, what do they think of those numbers? Because somewhere in here, they see these things. So what do they make of it behind the scenes? That's my biggest question.
Adam in Portland says, it tells me that his offensive line is complete garbage and that he is lacking comfort in the pocket to be able to step up and make proper throws. Name one quarterback in the league who would have played well behind that line. I'll wait. And the scary part, we haven't fixed it. We have one good lineman, Peter Skoronski. That's all. The rest are suspect.
Well, that also leads to another thing you brought to the table today. ESPN has their roster rankings, right? And it's right in line with yesterday we had Easton Freeze on. He was trying to name the 5 best superstars in Nashville, and he was putting together basically hey, football is king, so I'm going to go all Titans. He struggled to get 5 guys, right?
Yeah.
Morgan Cox made
Morgan
his
Cox
list.
made it.
Right. So it shows you their roster still is a big work in progress. They were ranked 28th, right?
Yes.
And that shouldn't really surprise anybody. So they're making baby steps. It's going to be all up to do young players, first and second year guys, make a good impact? Because as far as veterans go, they just don't have a lot of foundation laid.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, unfortunately, the U.S. men's national team is no longer a part of the World Cup. But as I've been watching the World Cup, because I have kept my eye on it, despite the U.S. no longer being in it, I've been thinking about ways we can Americanize soccer. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingen and Donick, 1025. The Game. Continuing my theme of songs from ex-Disney Channel stars. Of course, Olivia Rodrigo. The World Cup continues, although the United States is no longer a part of the World Cup. And throughout the U.S. men's national team's run through part of the World Cup, they didn't make it all the way through. A lot of Americans got swept up in soccer, maybe for the first time ever. And I remember seeing new American soccer fans making suggestions on how to Americanize soccer. So, for example, Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports, who, by the way, is now a New York Times best-selling author. Congratulations to him.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that not two things I never thought would be in the same sentence, but congratulations. He suggested you make the net 1,000 times bigger and you
Right.
have power plays like you do in hockey. And I know all of the soccer purists threw up in their mouths a little bit
That ain't happening.
when they heard that. But I was trying to think of it from a more constructive approach. So if I could, quote unquote, Americanize soccer a little bit, here's one thing I would do. And you guys tell me what you think. In the World Cup, correct me if I'm wrong here, soccer purists, each team is allowed 5 substitutions in regular time and 1 in extra time. You have a finite number of substitutions. If I were going to Americanize soccer, I would eliminate those limits on substitutions. I would say unlimited substitutions, just like you see in basketball, in football, and in hockey. And I know that soccer's substitution rules put a premium on conditioning. And I know that soccer players are incredibly conditioned athletes, but so are basketball players. So are hockey players. And hockey players take shifts. They go out there, skate for about a minute, come back to the bench. I think unlimited substitutions would increase the rate of play in soccer. If you hear a criticism of soccer from someone who doesn't watch soccer, you'll often hear, oh, it's too slow. It's too slow. There's not enough scoring. I think that if you introduced unlimited substitutions, I think the pace of play would be better. I also think it would put a premium on finding backups who can fill critical minutes. Because right now you can just load your starting lineup with your stars and play them for as long as you need. And then your role players, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They have to be good to be on the World Cup team. But maybe they're not as important. I think it would make you think even more about, okay, who are we going to have in a depth role? Because we can substitute our stars out more frequently. So that would be my suggestion. What do you guys think?
I think that's a practical one that, and I guess the question would be for the people who have to envision what this does to the game. I think the goal, look, Americanized probably has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
If you're trying to convince the world, FIFA or where, the rules making
Don't use
committee,
Americanized.
Yes,
Don't use that
that
word.
would be a big mistake.
How to change or speed up the game. so to
Right.
speak.
We won't even go into the history of, things rolled out there that just are turn off just by the words you use. Like, but history is with sports and politics and everything. You're filled with them, right? How you present an idea is important. So Americanized, we need to come up with innovate. Like, how do we better the game from an outside perspective? And I do think soccer sometimes, just from my perspective, they're closed-minded on making changes like that. But I would want to know from real soccer experts, would your thing? Because I've thought about that. Free subs. I even thought what about changing on the fly? What about Derek runs off, Adam runs on. Game continues. Yeah, like hockey. Would it create more action and more offense if you did that? Because to me, I think they've got to come to grips with more action. I don't care if the score is 0-0. I don't. But I want to see shots. I want to see scoring chances. I want to see saves. That is fun to watch. And there are too many games where they're just it's a defensive stalemate, I think.
What about introducing like basketball, a shot clock. Once you cross the midfield, you got a certain amount of seconds to, try to score a goal.
Well,
If not, then now the game.
I've thought
switches.
about this. I've thought about this in hockey during 3-on-3 overtime because, Willie, you've called many 3-on-3 overtime games. The one thing that always drives me nuts during 3-on-3 is when you don't have the play you want in the offensive zone, so you just loop on out.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a keep away.
That I know we're talking about soccer. If I were the NHL and if I had the opportunity to implement one rule in overtime in the NHL, it's like once you cross into the offensive zone, you've got to stay there.
Right.
That goes along with.
Well, okay, so let's not bleed too much
Yes.
into hockey, but I have thought of hockey references when I'm watching soccer because there are some similar concepts. And you're attacking a goal, there's a goalie, all of that stuff. So one thing I thought about Derek's thing is one of the things that is a problem for offense is that there's so many. A team can choose, if it's a big underdog, to really clog up the area in front of the goal and try to counterattack. It's probably like we just watched France today. France was just clearly the better team against Morocco. Took them a while. Took them about 65, 70 minutes to score, but Mbappe finally broke through and scored. They won 2-0. They dominated the game. So Morocco was doing what they had to do. They were playing defense. They were doing but they have to counter. What if you had a rule almost like defensive 3 seconds in basketball, or maybe even a lacrosse concept where you had to limit the amount of defenders you could put in the box? And these are things, look, we're just throwing these out there as observers who come in every 4 years, right? So I would love for some soccer purists to challenge us. Tell me where we have good ideas and tell me where you think, get out of here, get off my lawn, get out of my sport. I don't want to hear you. I would love that.
No ties.
No ties is an interesting one too. And then the question is, how should overtime be played? Because that's another thing
we thought about that.
We talked about the other day is, would it be better to have first goal wins like hockey rather than the 2 15-minute mini halves and then the penalty kicks? The penalty kicks are an incredibly dramatic way to end a game, but is it the best way to end a game? I'm a fan. I love when there's penalty kicks. I'm like, oh man,
remove 2 players from each team.
That's what. So we came up with that. Is what if you did not unlike the 3-on-3? What if you determined it was 7-on-7 or 8-on-8 instead of 11-on-11 for more action, more open space to create offense, just for the overtime, just for the overtime? Would that be better than a penalty kick situation it's decided like that?
Another thing I've thought of, changing to the scoring system depending on the type of shot, like penalty kick should have, like in basketball, a field goal is either 2 points or 3 points. A free throw is 1 point. Should a penalty kick be fewer points than a normal goal? Should a free kick have more points attached to it than
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Within the course of the game, not
Yes.
penalty kicks to decide a game at the end of overtime. You're talking about if somebody gets fouled in the box, does that goal, I don't know if you'd win that battle, but I never thought about the equivalent of a 3-point shot. Would it be incentivized
from how far out?
Shooting from further out?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could win that. These are just ideas, right? I hadn't thought about that. One thing I think has got to be brought up to speed is the offside rule, because I have seen a lot of goals, and it hasn't happened in the last couple of days, but I'm just feeling it. They've got the technology now where they've got that electronic line, and if you are an inch, if your toe is beyond the last defender, you're offside. And we've seen some very important goals get wiped away by millimeters, basically, inches. So I think modifying it, remember, Adam, in hockey, the offside rule with the blue line, which was the origin of a play involving Chris Mason for the Predators and Matt Duchene at the time playing for Colorado. He was clearly offside. They missed it. So they put in a rule that you could challenge offside. And if, at first you had your toe had to be onside, but they have now loosened it up. So all you have to do is be breaking the plane of the blue line to stay onside. In other words, they made it easier to stay onside. I think soccer could use that concept. Make it easier to stay onside. And there are things you can do. I could list 2 or 3. Like, I think a deflection in the box should negate any offside. I think if the goalie comes out a certain distance, you should be able to go behind the goalie. The goalie shouldn't be involved in offside. These are all theories I have, but this is just me. And my background is I did go to the Pele soccer camp when I was young, but that's about the extent of my career. I never played really for a soccer team. My daughter played soccer all throughout her life. She played college soccer on the club level at Northeastern. So I watched a million of her games. So I just have a very basic understanding, but I'm a sports nut. So I'm just thinking about these things. The offside, especially with my hockey knowledge, I just would like to see it a little bit easier to stay onside because it's so strict right now, especially with the technology. Let's find a way to make it easier to score without going crazy and radical about it.
How about pulling the goalie?
You are allowed to pull the goalie.
And you can add an extra man.
Well,
I didn't know that.
Well, I don't you can't. Your goalie can come in and be an attacker. He can run all the way up the field
but pull
try
the
to score.
goalie and have an actual guy come
go on
in
for like a real
Exactly.
striker. Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay. You can't do that. But the goalie could come up and try to.
I'm
kick the
thinking
ball
more
into
so
the net.
hockey. Pull the goalie, bring in someone that has the ability to score.
Okay.
So there you go.
Let's go to Steven on our phone line. Steven, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hi, guys. Pleasure listening to you all the time. I've played soccer growing up. My family played soccer. I had cousins that played D1. I love what you're talking about with the offside. That's the biggest way to improve offense is make it slacken the offside rule, which there's actually a rule change in development, I guess the way to put it, from former Arsenal coach Arsene Wenger about that, where as long as there's not space between the offensive player and the defensive player, then it's no offside. As long as a clear line between the two of them.
Right. So you got a little more leeway, is what you're saying. A little more grace period. Yeah.
Exactly. In terms of a lot of the other suggestions, you guys are very honest that you're not diehard soccer fans. A lot of what's being suggested almost seems like it comes from a American not having the attention span for long buildups of designing your chances and finding those cracks in the defense. You want the speed and just go. And soccer is much more of a deliberate build-up type of game.
We're instant gratification
Thank you, Steven.
type of
Right. No, it's a good point.
Americans have short attention spans?
No, I am trying to be sensitive to Steven's point. I don't want to completely lose all credibility with people like Steven who are like, hey, look, respect the way we do it, right? There's a reason the way we do it. And that is true. So I'm not suggesting it should be an all free-for-all Lakers Showtime fast break, 12 to 11. But I think, subtle ways to make it a little bit easier to score. And I want a 3-2 game. I'd love lead changes. With that odd game we're seeing now, like when Belgium, we were doing the show, and just think about how this could have changed the course of U.S. soccer. Belgium was down 2-0 with 5 or 10, depending on the stoppage time, 5 or 10 minutes left in the game. And they tied it up. That was a really exciting game. You don't see comebacks like that very often.
But that's what the caller's
the
talking
USA
about,
could
the
have
build up.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But instead, USA had to play Belgium and not Senegal. Maybe that would have gone a different way if that happened. But there was a comeback. But it doesn't happen very often, right? Once France got up 2-0, there's no way. They took Mbappe out. He got a little banged up. Take him out. No big deal. They're not coming back. I would like to see a game. It's never over. You can come back. Hockey has tried to do that, right? Hockey was getting like that about 20 years ago. But they tried to open the game up so that there was more room for lead changes. You can't sit on a lead. That I think is a key concept to look at for soccer.
615-737-1025. We're having some fun talking about ways we can quote unquote Americanize soccer. Again, that word.
Well, let's just say speed up the sport. Let's say
Open
speed
it
up
up.
the sport. Open it up.
However you want to say it. 615-737-1025. Let us know your suggestions or what you think about ours. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But I got some good news because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffery Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Quickly, some reaction to our previous topic on soccer. One texter says, begin each game with a penalty shootout. The winner of the penalty shootout then starts the beginning of the game up 1 goal. Would absolutely never happen, but would make games instantly more exciting by forcing the hand of one team to press for a goal. When I read this text, my first thought is, remember in the original XFL how they determined possession?
Yes.
They had 2 players. I can't remember which yard line they were positioned at. And it was a full-on sprint for the ball at midfield. and they had to discontinue it because so many guys got seriously injured.
They didn't think that people were going to get injured. I guess they didn't care.
Remember, there was the wrestling guy, Vince McMahon, that put that whole idea together. Oh, man.
No
See,
wonder.
I don't know. And notice we've used restraint.
Yes.
And I could have gone sarcastic with silly rules of what to do when the guy's writhing in pain on the ground and he's not really hurt. Like it's
One texter says, have a flop rule. Get tired of seeing players fall to the ground like they were hit by a truck.
The slow motion replay where the guy, we know the guy didn't get hit that hard, and he's like grabbing his shin where he has the shin pad on.
I have a suggestion.
Like it can't hurt that bad.
Connor has a suggestion.
Go ahead.
If they do, in fact, flop like they do, stop the clock and just say, we ain't adding in an extra time. That's what I would do.
If the team is
But
behind.
I don't think any one of us submitted something that seemed gimmicky.
Right. We didn't want to get
said. It's sort of like, okay, I can see that.
I'm trying to catch.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get the ear. We're trying to get the ear of a soccer purist.
Yeah, we're not trying to get you to turn off and say, "Oh,
Yeah,
that
we
never
don't want to
happened."
listen to those
Yeah.
guys. You know, that's
like,
just how we do soccer. I'm trying to work it in that world.
On another note, this story just crossed my timeline. We are awaiting the decision, the other decision, the next decision of LeBron James.
Oh,
Not the decision. Well, I guess it's not the decision, but it is a decision.
the next decision.
The next decision.
The next
We are
chapter.
awaiting the next decision of LeBron James. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, Rich Paul, James's agent, has facilitated team executives in selling their vision to him by sending a voice note for James via Paul. So if you want to pitch LeBron James, you send a voice memo to Rich Paul, who will then play it for LeBron James.
I am DMing Rich
Why
Paul.
you just can't just pick up the phone and call? Like, let's do a video. Let's do a Zoom video or
Nope.
something.
Nope. You have to send a voice message to Rich Paul, who will then send it to LeBron James.
That's a different world, man.
I will
That's
have
just a different
LeBron James
world.
as part of the Cromwell media family in no time.
That's just a different world. Hey, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see your face. Just send me a recording and convince me that I need to come to you. Okay. And I'll record something telling you whether I like your recording or not. It's like, okay.
My parents send my son voice memos like, hey, buddy, I saw you jump off the high dive. That's awesome. We love you. LeBron.
Hey, LeBron.
Does he want to picture it? Like, I want you to. Well, if I was an owner, I would reach out to Morgan Freeman and have him do the voiceover. I would. I mean, this is how we're gonna get him.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
Or if you're looking to cut costs, you pay Frank Caliendo to
Yeah.
do Morgan
Freeman. There you
in
go.
the
Yeah,
voice memo.
okay.
How will
Might
LeBron
be
James
cheaper.
ever know?
Man.
So if you want to pitch
That's
LeBron
funny.
James, you've got to send his agent a voice memo, and his agent will then play the voice memo for LeBron.
So
Someone
you ain't
should
even
AI
talking to LeBron yet.
No, you're not even allowed to talk to LeBron.
Someone should AI LeBron talking to LeBron, and it would be like, hey, LeBron, this is your future self.
I'm wearing my Cavs uniform right now.
Man.
It's
It
gonna
still
love it.
fits. It still fits.
Yeah, that's a different world, man. When you can say, nah, we don't want to meet. We don't want to hop on your plane. We don't want to do nothing.
Not even a Zoom.
Yeah.
Right?
Just send us a voice message.
It's reminiscent of when you were younger and you
Can I send him oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
No.
It's reminiscent of when you were younger and you liked someone, but you didn't want to tell that person.
Mhm.
So you talked to their friend.
Right.
They're like, hey, Natalie, I really like Casey. Will you talk to her for me and let me know if she also likes me? That's what this is sort of like. Hey, Rich, we like LeBron, but I'm kind of nervous to talk to him. Can you tell us if he likes us too? And then we'll approach him.
Oh, man. Willie, can I send him a cassette tape?
You think LeBron has
Like
a
record it and
Are you gonna
send
love
it to
actually
him?
him? Just sit outside his house with a
I think you'd have to
boombox?
send a player. You'd have to
Yeah,
send the
I'd send a
player with it.
cassette player too. Absolutely.
And then it'd
Oh,
be like
man.
Mission Impossible. This tape will self-destruct.
self-destruct.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard
Tortillas.
that. Just put that on your recording.
Let's get that guy to voice over.
How many words can he fumble over?
LeBron,
man.
do you
LeBaron.
like tortillas?
Then come to San Antonio. We've got plenty of tortillas. I don't think the Spurs are in the running for LeBron.
They have
James.
said they're out.
Yeah.
So
they
who's-
said
so
they're
And
out.
who's in?
your thing was the Knicks before the Knicks won the whole thing.
Apparently, did Rich Paul? Do I remember this correctly? Rich Paul said that he would have been interested in the Knicks had they not won,
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
which is interesting to me.
Are the Cavs in this mix?
They should be. I think it's
Will-
the
will they
Cavs,
get
the
a rec-
Heat, and who else?
The Heat?
I think it's the Cavs, the
Okay.
Heat, and it's another
Philly.
team. Philly. Yeah, Philly.
Philly.
But I think Philly is just like one of those last teams. They don't think he would go. But, I mean, now that they didn't got Jaylen Brown, it's like Jalen, Maxey, Embiid, LeBron.
Apparently, Rich Paul said if the Knicks hadn't won, it wouldn't even be a question. There would be no whiteboard. He'd be going to the Knicks.
I can see
Wow. Okay, this is what I think we need to do. We need to get Frazier, and we're gonna have Frazier give a real heartfelt pitch for him to join 102.5 the game.
I was going to say the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, we're gonna see if he wants the radio. We're just gonna give him the option of a radio career if he just can't find the right thing. We're gonna make our pitch.
I think we should.
Frazier's the guy.
You think so?
Rich
Yeah,
Paul is telling
we got a
everybody.
beautiful studio. We're in Nashville.
You love Nashville.
Yeah,
You love Nashville.
You wish the Grizzlies would move here.
exactly. Maybe you can get him to move here.
That's true. You would have the
You can
power
join-
of the airwaves.
Join any of the shows. You pick the day part you want to be on. We'll work you in.
Which show do you think LeBron would join if given the choice?
You think he's an early riser? Is he an
No.
early bird?
He
No.
is an early bird.
We could have LDVD.
Yeah.
LDVD. Yeah.
La DVD.
La DVD.
La DVD.
LDVD.
We got to give LeBron top billing.
the DVD
Yeah.
in Spanish.
La
LDVD.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not EL. Just L. Just the letter L.
Or should we put him at the end? DVDL.
Dividal.
I feel like LeBron would be a midday guy.
You think he'd be a midday guy?
I
Yeah.
think he'd be a midday
Nice,
guy.
easy shift.
Mhm.
Sleep in, clock in. You're out of there 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Chase
Sure.
Big Joe and LeBron.
Oh man.
Imagine LeBron James playing celebrity birthdays.
Yeah, that he'd have to if he wants to join that show.
Yes.
He's gonna have to brush up on that.
Yes.
I do wonder though. I mean, really, how does that get out? The voice memo thing, really?
I don't know. Because somebody probably
drama.
said, "Can
Like,
you
why
believe?
the
Can you
drama?
believe LeBron is doing this?"
Why the drama? Yeah,
Because this is the decision in 2026.
Well, wherever he goes, it's going to be a year-to-year contract, I'm sure. Sort of like, I think Michael Jordan did the year-to-year contract his last couple of years, at least with the Bulls, I know.
This ESPN report makes sure to tell us that James has spent the past few weeks with family and friends enjoying vacation and time on the golf course in no rush to decide. Okay.
Should he be? I mean, he's only the second greatest player to ever play the game. So,
Well, you might cause an argument before the end of the show by saying the second player.
yeah, he is.
We've got golf courses out here. We got some nice ones.
Absolutely.
Take him out to Hermitage Golf Course.
Yeah, we're out
there's a
there.
lot of good choices.
Yeah. Governor's Club.
Sure,
Yeah.
golf club, Tennessee. We got
Yeah,
them all.
We got a bunch of golf clubs around here.
So that's our
Golf
home.
courses.
That's
excuse
our
me.
homework assignment. We need to come up with a voice memo for LeBron James because that's how you've got to pitch him if he wants to join your team.
I'm like when they heard this, like the different teams,
Mhm.
do you think there was an eye roll, or was there like, all right, who's going to be the pitch man? Like, let's get creative about this. Let's get our team in here and let's work out how we're going to do this. Or we're like, are you kidding me?
But let's do it.
Like, if you want LeBron, this is how you play ball.
I'm sure there was a bunch of eye rolling.
Then Brett Yormark walks in the room and says, "Stand up and do it again."
Man, should there be more heat on your mark for his whole thing what he did with to the reporter? Because I think he showed him
He
up.
came across.
Yeah, he showed him
You
up.
know what?
And I'm like, dude, seriously? Like, oh well.
Well, I know what I'm having for dinner. tortilla soup.
Tito's. Some Tito's?
Some-
Chicken tortilla?
Some chicken tortilla soup.
Man, sounds good.
And that will do it for us today.
I'm not laughing at the guy. I'm just laughing at the word.
Oh, man.
Play it again.
What?
Tortillos.
This is the central part of his question.
Exactly.
Oh, man. He was off on the wrong foot.
Man.
That's okay.
Again.
All right. For real. That'll do it for us today. We hope you enjoy your tortillas if you're having Mexican tonight or chicken tortilla soup.
Mhm.
We had fun. We hope you did too. I am out tomorrow, but Willie and Derek will have you covered from 3 to 6 p.m. to wrap up the week. Who knows what sort of fun they'll get into, how many strays I'll catch when I'm not here. I will be listening a little bit just to make sure that you two stay in line. But we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will talk. Well, they will talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music? Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. We will be back on these airwaves. Missing Adam tomorrow, but we will be here starting at 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. And as I always say, we're going to be listening. We're going to be talking, and
You're going to be listening.
peace.